Hello, hello, my fellow YouTubers. It's me again, Carlita, your Spice Queen. Yeah, I am here again with another word on the curve. And the word is that those divas over there at the Real Housewife of Potomac, their season grande finale has been said and done. And I have the recap, and it's a hot mess, I tell you, a hot mess. But before we get started, let's do what we do naturally. Let's first subscribe. Please subscribe. We need to grow the channel. Share. And please comment. Comments help motivate me to bring on more content. Okay, and if you are already a Spicer, please hit the notification bell so you can be alerted when I upload new content. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, now, with every word on the curve, there's an article involved. This information is brought to us by Vulture. Okay, Vulture. And the author is Shamira Abram. And it was authored on February the 6th, 2023. And it reads like this. At long last, we have arrived at the finale. And more than anything, I am feeling a sense of relief that this experience is over. This season was easily the third worst of the franchise following 1 and 5. The biggest problem with this season, however, is that it was largely unpleasant and unenjoyable. It has become so palpable that these women barely tolerate one another and navigate a hierarchy of alliances for camera time and favorable storylines, that there is no longer a show worth watching. It's just vindictive, cyclical arguments that go nowhere, and no amount of White Lotus style gimmicks from the production team in post can salvage that reality if they don't get the cast back on track. And it reads on. Of course, the 2-ton elephant in the room is newlywed Robin Dixon. After all her evasiveness and nonchalance over the years, she wastes our time all season pretending to plan a wedding in Jamaica that she, of course, ended up not doing. Instead, she reverted to her original plan of a wedding on the Maryland shore, going so far as to craft invitations despite no one being invited other than her parents, children, and, the hired talent and event staff. I can't even finish rolling my eyes, and this is the author. I can't even finish rolling my eyes at the charade of it all when we are hit with the breaking news alert that Robin had not only been aware of Juan's alleged indiscretion before season 7, but it had also delayed their original wedding planning, and they chose to handle it privately with Giselle's knowledge. Go figure. The podcast duo chose to make the details a Patreon exclusive. Wow. Meaning most of us just waited until someone spilled all the details on Reddit, which stated that Juan was communicating with someone during the pandemic on Instagram because he was bored and needed attention. The woman messaged him about losing her wallet while she was in town, and Juan allegedly put his credit card down and walked away from the hotel. Now, that don't make sense. And it reads on. That is the story Robin is choosing to tell us, or the story she is choosing to believe. And it's a flimsy as all the stories Karen invents. It's as flimsy as all the stories Karen events about her personal life. But honestly, if Robin wants to recommit to a serially non-committal partner who has less money than when he was in the NBA prospects. Who am I to stop her? That is the author. The tragedy of this show is that all the women value partnerships above self-empowerment and weaponize singlehood as a failing. And I can't lead any of them to the light. What is more critical to me is how this crisis in Robin's life drastically affected the show and exposed its weak points. It is now clear that Robin's uncharacteristic activations this season was her being on guard against her personal life being exposed. And Giselle was also working on running over and working on running cover and ensuring that other storylines moved to the forefront. As a result, Chris and Candace, Wendy and Mia, and Karen all got collateral damage. They are responsible for handling their stories appropriately, but the implications are still frustrating. Karen's storyline was essentially a rehashing of years-old drama spiked up for extra sensation. Chris and Candace took on collateral damage as were told they were being dramatic for laying out the implications of what was being said about Chris Bassett amongst the women. Wendy would get iced out over minor indiscretions, while Karen would be harassed over her refusal to engage with Charisse. Meanwhile, Giselle, who was dealing with a legitimate health crisis that affects a significant amount of Black women, barely acknowledged her real life whatsoever, as it par for the course. It's an elaborate game of reality TV 3-card Monte, in which Robin is the shield and Giselle is the dealer. Moreover, Robin's preeminent season-long fear that she would be exposed showcases just how the format of the show has devolved. The women are no longer interested in taking control of their narratives and setting up organic stories that humanize one another and endear fans base to them. They are exclusively focused on setting one another up for nasty reads and takedowns. It amounts to a tension that is increasingly void of any camaraderie to balance out the harsh moments. This conundrum seeps throughout the finale. Everyone is supposed to be celebrating Candace's video release party, but no one seems to care except Candace's actual friends, and Escale, who originally came on the show as Robin's friend, but doesn't acknowledge her at this point. It's a triumphant and emotional moment for Candace and an opportunity for her and Chris to show a united front. Giselle can barely contain her pettiness over the whole affair. She's expecting this to be a moment for her to get an opportunity to get Chris, to genuflect to her on camera before the season wraps as his Ashley, which is the most bizarre read of the room possible. Ashley defies Candace's wishes to have a conversation that Chris is not prepared to have in a celebratory environment, saying that Chris, quote, would be prepared to have, saying that, quote, Chris would be open to having a conversation. Does not mean the next time I see you, I will run you down and demand that you address every single gripe I have right this second for the cameras, with the intent of squeezing a confession out of you. This is Ashley. It is purposely attempting to antagonize someone who has been defending their reputation under the guise of semantics. And it is such a terrible tone to end a season on. Karen is in a never-ending paradox. Somehow her marriage deeply matters to the group, though it does not matter whatsoever to Ray, who couldn't find any fuck to give about any of the allegations they hurled his wife way for years. If it didn't matter to him, and if none of these girls trust her, why did they bother her? Why did they bother her when she doesn't want to talk to them? The group pestered her about Charisse, who is beyond silly. How do you prove you didn't go to town with someone in the bathroom? Timestamp CCTV footage. Mia is choosing to jump ship and plant her flag with the green-eyed bandits for now, despite Karen being the one who consistently gave her a heads up as to when, they were trying to set her up earlier in the season over her health issues. Unluckily for her, her final screen says, quote, Mia's health remains stable, unlike her finances, end quote. I saw that. Maybe Robin can help guide her back to financial success again. I sincerely hope Potomac take the time to do some tinkering in the off season. I am not in the camp that is foaming at the mouth for Robin to get fired, though I wouldn't be opposed to a demotion, largely because a season of her reaping just dessert next season might be worth it. Another year of vendettas, agendas, and manipulations, however, is just unwatchable television. It made Beverly Hills nearly unbearable, and I am sorry. But if the women cannot find common ground, then some need to move on to greener pasture. Then some of them need to move on to greener pastures and start doing sponsored IG posts. Being on a cast is a collaborative dynamic, not a self-promotional tool. Shows like Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives of New York. This is the author speaking. The Real Housewives of New York, at their best, understood how to navigate the ebbs and flows of friendship dynamics. It is what is making Miami work so well on Peacock right now. The devastating storyline of a crumbling marriage is not sucking all the air out of the room because the group is still invested in connecting over absurdities and low-stake escapisms. Those many details help round out the women as human. Potomac, right, and the other franchises would all be well served to remember that and stop reaching for extreme reactions from the fan bases out of a viral read, accusations or moment. Okay, so that's pretty much it, but there's one little quote she got in here I want to say. In her opinion, it says, Giselle, and I agree with this. Giselle desperately needs to put her daughters in sex education courses, right? They have a shockingly sparse understanding of their reproductive system. She audibly gasped, this is the author, when one of the twins asks how she peed from her fibroids. Yeah, they really do need to be educated in reference to the reproductive system. I was just taken aback. I was kind of shocked. I couldn't believe it. Giselle is around here making all this noise, starting all this crap, doing all these things, and not focusing on what really matters. Honey, that's your girls. You need to be talking to them and teaching them, especially, reproduction. So enough said on that. So that's it. It was a very, very long article. Very, very informative. I always like Walter. I love this author, Shamar Abraham. She's very, very opinionated. And she goes into details about, what's going on. So that's it. That is all. I'm very, very curious to hear your opinion, spicers, YouTubers. Please hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you all feel and think about the finale. You know, what do you think about Robin and how she handled her wedding? What do you think about Giselle always plotting and things of that nature? Always going after Karen. I mean, it's just too much. Okay? So, without further ado, I will see you in my next video.